Welcome to the Enlightrepreneurs podcast. I'm Justin Minott. I'm here with my business partner, Dave Gold, and we are joined today by Jes Lipson and Jason Widen, two phenomenal entrepreneurs and phenomenal humans that we're getting to know and build relationships with. So glad to have you both here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, great to be here.
So Jes is the owner and founder of Levitate, and you're going to share a little bit more about that. And Jason is the, would you say founder? What is the official title?
I'm a co-founder and the CEO of HQ.
Of HQ Raleigh, a beautiful co-working organization that, anyway, we just love their heart. So Jes, why don't you share a little bit about your startup story and what your company is doing? I know you've navigated a few of these crises already, but if you could just share a little bit about what you're up to.
Sure. Yeah, a little bit about my story. So I first started a company back in college in 1999, kind of the height of the dot-com boom. And, I was due to graduate in May of 2000. So basically I got my first education in navigating kind of crises and things like that in the March 2000 bubble.
Wow.
Ended up starting another company shortly after that and built a company called ShareFile. I founded that in late 2005. And so grew that and went through the financial crisis of 2008, 2009. And that company was acquired by Citrix. Mm-hmm. So I am a co-founder of HQ along with Jason and a couple other folks. But my latest venture is a software company called Levitate. And Levitate is designed for relationship-based businesses, so companies that grow mostly through referral and word of mouth rather than kind of a traditional sales approach. And so we provide software that helps them do a better job staying in touch and staying top of mind in much more of a personal and authentic way compared to like an email marketing tool like a MailChimp or something like that. This is designed to help you keep in touch in a really authentic, personal way. So we launched that a couple of years ago, and we're actually working out of HQ now, 60 employees, and we got some venture funding last year as well.
Oh, congratulations. That's
yes,
big.
I just want to congratulate you again. I mean, when you say ShareFile, acquired by Citrix, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but that really
right. Yeah, it just rolls off the tongue.
No, Ed Sheely, I'm sure you and Ed and I are close friends. So.
Yeah, I remember meeting you back a long time ago. I think Ed introduced us. We chatted once. This was probably in 2013, something like that.
Yeah, no, I remember. No, okay, great. Anyway, we'll catch up off camera, but it's great. Congratulations on that big. And they brought a lot of capital, a lot of goodwill, and just a lot of prestige to Raleigh. So we're all riding the coattails a bit of what Jes did and ShareFile did and Citrix coming in. So thanks for that.
Absolutely.
That's great. Now, Jason, tell us more about HQ Raleigh and the vision and your story getting up to this point.
Yeah, so I've been a business owner for, coming into this interview, I was thinking, well, how many years have I owned my own business? And started my first business in the late 90s. It's actually a recruiting company for seasonal employees from Europe and the United States and resort towns. And actually then 9/11 happened, and that put the brakes on that business. But at that time, that actually catapulted me into real estate. Mm-hmm. So I got involved with purchasing and developing real estate in college and university towns, which over a 10-year period of time grew into a real estate investment company where I developed apartment buildings and loft type buildings. And I was a restaurateur there for a period of time. And then 2008 happened, and I was heavily invested, obviously, in real estate, and I owned a restaurant. And that was a really difficult time. Those are two industries that were impacted greatly during that period of time. But I used that experience, which I was able to get out of and then sell my real estate company. I used that experience to reinvent myself and look to the next thing. And that brought my wife and I to Raleigh, Durham. And we moved out here in 2011 after selling my company. And I ran into a guy named Christopher Gergen, who you may be familiar with. He's a social entrepreneur, and I was really wanting to get involved in more social entrepreneurial minded businesses. I didn't know what I was going to do at that time. And that led me to Brooks Bell, who Jes Lipson's married to. And I got to meet Jes. Amazing. And the four of us got together, and we decided to start HQ Raleigh, which at the time was a way to bring high impact, high growth companies together to create economic impact in the region.
Yeah.
And over time, we really led with this idea of collaboration and community building and economic development. And over time, that's grown significantly. Not only are we supporting high impact, high growth companies, but we support all entrepreneurial-minded types of people. So whether you're a scaling non-for-profit or a restaurateur, or someone like Jes that's scaling a high impact, high growth software company, we're there to provide the resources and networks to help people scale and grow their businesses. We've got over 400 member companies and about 1,000 members that participate in our community. We've got strong relationships with a number of universities, including NC State, where we have a 20,000 square foot location, campus there. So we've got over 100,000 square feet of space. We've got a lot of amazing partners and rich resource providers. And it's been a pleasure being here. It's something I'm really passionate about. I've got a great set of partners, and things are going well, even considering the current crisis that we're in.
So before we hopped on the interview, you were talking about you had this fork in the road where you were deciding whether to be more space driven or more community oriented. Tell us a little bit about the thought process there, because I do think that is going to segue into talking about what the current crisis, how you're navigating that current crisis with your people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having a real estate background, as a business person, I want to find someone to rent whatever that space is, and there's not a lot of community around that. Mm-hmm. So instinctually, when we're starting HQ, I mean, most immediately, I want to make sure that we're filling space. But as we got together, we were looking at the type of space we wanted to build. We wanted to be much more intentional about how we built that community. It wasn't necessarily about renting a box, but what's the impact to the overall community. And so we were intentional, and I wouldn't say we were exclusive, but we were selective in who we invited to be a part of the community. Yeah. And over time, it's been much more than space. We're engaged we're most definitely engaged in the community in a variety of different ways. We've got a lot of collaborations and partnerships with organizations that offer value to our members. We're actively engaged on boards and mentoring startups and working with other like-minded organizations and supporting our community. So, in many ways, we do a lot of economic development, not just on the job side, but also social impact as well. I mean, we are a B Corp. I consider ourselves social entrepreneurial minded organization. And I think that the set of values and the culture that we've created attract those types of people. So as you look at the current crisis and you look at the value that we've been able to provide to our community, I feel like that puts us in a strong position, to weather this storm and continue to offer the kind of value. Hello, and here's our youngest HQ member.
Hi.
She get a break on rent, or does she pay full boat like everybody else?
She gets a discount.
Okay, good.
The junior discount. But I feel like our bottom up approach in the type of relationships we have within our community and our community partners, I think it positions us to be a resource during times of need. And I don't pretend for us to have all the resources or all the answers to difficult questions. but I do think we're a really good connector to resources. And I think we offer a lot of value to our community, especially during this tough time.
I love this. So this right here, every single entrepreneur who is now working from home or in these situations, if you have kids, you have had one or more of these things. So I just bring my daughter with me on a bunch of our interviews because it's together. This is life. This is real life. I think we've had this false division of work and home and whatever because of what we've been able to create, and this is kind of breaking down some of those barriers, which is very fun. So yeah, I'm happy that
we're all in the same boat. All of us are dealing with something else, and it's just part of it. You've got to juggle. You still got to be productive. You still got to get work done, but at the same time there's other priorities in our life too, which definitely a crisis brings to light. Your family and friends and people that you care about most. That's a big part of our lives too, right? So
yeah.
So one of the things that I wanted to mention too, because we see this more and more, it's one of the advantages that all four of us have in terms of interacting with so many different entrepreneurs. And I think partly we attract by who we are, a certain type of entrepreneur, and then we manifest that is that the entrepreneurs who have invested in this social capital that you're speaking about. And, and I don't know how much of that's just intentional, like that's good business practice, or how much of that's just who we are, is we keep seeing that those dividends are just paying off in so many ways when the crises are happening. And some people are going into survival mode, and some people are touching and manifesting higher values.
Right. Yeah. I think there's a deep investment in the relationship and morale of your people, which is why they're wanting to. You were talking about some stories before we got on, Jason, of your community still wanting to ride through this with you. And I think that's a testament to you're not just a space. Right. So Jes, how are you navigating this right now? What's Levitate's approach? How's your team handling all of this? What's going on there?
Yeah. So I created a few kind of principles when we first decided to do the work from home, kind of mandatory work from home, which I guess was a little bit over a month ago now. The first one was over communicate. And so that was a big one. So basically I looked at my calendar. Any recurring meetings I had, I doubled or tripled the frequency. So, we used to have a monthly company meeting. We changed it to weekly. We used to have a senior management kind of meeting once a week. We changed it to twice a week. I used to have a weekly meeting with my head of my chief revenue officer, and we changed it to daily. And so I think one of the things for really a couple reasons, one is the pace of change over the last month or so has been so much faster that really in a lot of ways a week is more like a month. And so it's just required to communicate more often. The second thing is that you lose a lot of those subtle kind of things when you're in person and you catch people in the hallway or happen to chat with somebody at coffee, and so trying to kind of make up for that and overcompensate with meeting more often and communicating more often. So over communicating was a big kind of initial thing, that principle I put forth to the whole team.
That's big. That's a valuable tidbit. That's great. Thanks for that.
Yeah. And then another one is just kind of speed of decision making, which is kind of the same principle, where it can be uncomfortable because I think we're used to taking a little bit more time and consideration and making decisions. But with the pace of change, I've been making decisions much faster and kind of encouraging the team to make decisions much faster. And so again, it's like decisions that normally I would take a week to make, I make them in a day. Decisions I would make in a day, I make on the spot, to just to try to adapt to the pace of change. And that kind of leads to the third thing I've really pushed with our team, is going back to our core values. And because in order to move quickly in this time of change, you really need to empower your individuals within the organization. And so less of a structure where the individual has to come talk to their manager, the manager has to then come talk to me, and then we need to deliberate and go back down. And so if you're going to kind of decentralize that decision making, asking the employees to really go back and look at the core values when they're trying to make decisions of like, okay, first start with the core values, and then let me figure out the path forward to kind of solving my problems. I read something, General McChrystal, I think it was, in like the war in Afghanistan or Iraq, that they dealt with that kind of a problem where the enemy was moving so quickly, and they realized that the traditional kind of hierarchy in the military was not working, and so they would literally do like a morning call where everybody was invited, and so they would have thousands of, like, any soldier could join the same call that the senior staff was on, and they would have thousands of people on the same call and do it every single day, just because his feeling was everybody has to understand what's happening and the changes so that they can make the right decisions, quickly, on the front lines. And I think it's been very similar kind of approach that we've tried to take, is just like that over communication, empowering people, having people make decisions very, very quickly.
What I'm immediately curious about is what this is going to look like on the other side of coronavirus for companies that are adapting in these ways. And because I think there are beautiful ways of being woven into the necessity-driven pieces right now. So that's interesting. Dave, were you saying something?
Yeah, it's just so fascinating because you meet like-hearted people, and you find that you resonate in ways that you wouldn't have, that you might not have known in a traditional hierarchy. And that everything you're talking about is one, it just plays into who you already are, right? I mean, you're a people guy, you're a relationship guy. So this is just, in a way, allowing the nature of your relationship.
I like natural nature.
Yeah, okay. Tad overly doubly redundant, but it's okay.
It's over communicating.
Yeah, exactly. We're just proving this point. But anyway, and that you can see that it's what I think we all sense, something is emerging here. And it seems that what's emerging is the relationship is just key. And then actually we have the organizations we're in are adapting to the truth of that. So everything we're talking about is like, it's these unnatural hierarchies are fading away. They're totally superfluous. You can't move as fast as with an unnatural hierarchy. And anyway, I just see, I just have such a resonance with what you're saying.
Jason, what were you saying?
Let me offer another silver lining is, I really use this as an opportunity. Well, first off, the director of our organization right before this went out on maternity leave too. So we were already preparing our team to.
She timed that perfectly. Good for her. Absolutely.
But we were already preparing to, turn this into an opportunity for some of our staff members to improve themselves. As Jes pointed out, though, as you're empowering people coming out on the other end, people are stepping up to the challenge. They're making decisions. They're growing and developing, within this current situation. So I think we're going to come out on the other side of this, having employees that are stronger in their own positions, right? And they've grown from this experience, having had to make decisions quicker, make decisions on their own, reflect back on the core values and the principles and those types of things. And hopefully the emphasis on communication, that will follow as well. And that will, improve the overall organization's communication moving forward.
I think so.
Are you finding that they're also like intuitively making decisions like from the we, much more from the us, from the collective rather than just from the individual, even though they're making seemingly unilateral decisions? It seems like they're more informed by the whole.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think, I don't think you can be lazy with it either. I mean, I think you're working from home. I think there's a heightened sense of, do I have all the information I need? Oh my gosh, Jason's expecting me to do the right thing here. So, I think most definitely, I think that people are, making sure that they have the appropriate information, and they're focused more on what the organization is all about, especially in crisis times, because you want to do the right thing for our community.
Yeah.
So I think you're not relying on leadership and others to do those things. I mean, you have to step up, and I think there can be a silver lining there.
Jes, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's uncomfortable for a lot of employees, and so it's definitely been a process to just reinforce those principles with people. I think some people embrace it and thrive, and there's other people that need a little bit of a nudge, that the temptations of being at home, like they benefited from some of the structure in the office, and
Sure.
and they're probably having to do some growing up during this time. But yeah, kind of what I tell employees, which is actually something I've had to tell myself, is you're struggling. There's a lot to worry about, a lot to struggle with during this time, and the answer is back on the core values. And our core values for our company are create magic, show customer empathy, make data-driven decisions, and focus on solutions, not problems. And I think those have come really in handy, especially the focusing on solutions, not problems, because
Right.
there's been a lot of problems onboarding new employees when we don't have an office, just all kinds of things, people getting sick, people's power going out. There's any number of different things that are getting thrown at us. And so, so I think it's been a process to try to, we have a decent sized group of 60 employees. And so I think for some people it's been more natural, and others we've needed to really work with them to kind of be able to be empowered and operate, independently.
Yeah. Wow. Well said. Jason, tell us about this event. I know we're coming to a close on our interview. Tell us about Friday, April 17th event and what you're hoping to get out of it. Dave and I have the privilege of moderating that panel, which is beautiful and exciting. So what are people looking forward to, and why should they tune in?
Yeah, similar to some of the discussion that we're having now. I mean, you've got someone like, Jes, who's, been an entrepreneur and business owner from a young age, and, having dealt with a number of situations to include, scaling and successfully exiting, a tech company. I think, people being able to hear from entrepreneurs that, have experienced both crises and also scaling and successfully running companies, and understanding, what that means to operate in times of crisis, and how to be resilient. How, from a mental health perspective, how are you navigating
that's a big
life
one.
and work-life balance, and then just the practical aspects of managing through a crisis, right? And those are the things we hope to discuss. And we've got another seasoned entrepreneur that will be joining us. His name is Bill Spruill. And he is not only owns his own business, but he's also an active angel investor. So he'll be able to bring that perspective to the table as well.
Fascinating. And will there be opportunity for Q&A for people to chip in?
What do you think, Jes?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely would love that. So yeah, I'll definitely be available to answer any questions about anything, for folks who do have questions. I think going back to the point about over communicating, one of the things that is easy to forget is I think that is important, not just internally within your company, but externally. And that's part of, why I want to do these events, and got a few others that I've signed up to do as well, because, sharing that information across, and Jason and me and Bill, like, we don't have all the answers. Right. This crisis is not quite like anything I don't think anyone living has seen before. So the exchange of information, communicating with people in the community is very, very important. So I would welcome that, and really look forward to having a great conversation on Friday.
Awesome. All right, so it's Friday at noon. Oh, sorry, Dave, what were you saying?
So what a great example of making decisions on the fly. I don't know. Q&A, yeah, we're having it. Yeah, exactly. Just don't leave your cooking here. That's beautiful. Go ahead.
So it's this Friday at 12.
Yep. That's
all right. And where do people find the link? At HQ Raleigh? to sign up for the event?
Yes, because
Yeah.
you can find that at HQ Raleigh. Sorry.
On the website?
And if we haven't already posted on social media, I'm sure that will be happening soon. So I would say, check out our us on Twitter, and then I'm sure you all will also post that out on social media to join the webinar.
Yeah, we'll make sure you get that to push out to your community as well.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you too.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it, guys.
Yep.